Hi, I'm Mike Gafa, and I want to talk to you today about being a deep and wide church. I believe the mission of every church is the great co-mission that Jesus gave us to go and make disciples. So when we talk about being deep and wide, we can say that to be wide is to go. So when Jesus says go, it means exactly that. We're to go. We're not to bunker down and expect people to just come to us. We're to get out and be the church everywhere we go. But it doesn't stop there. The Great Commission not only tells us just to go, but to go and make disciples. And so what does that look like? Well, Jesus goes on to say we are to baptize them, that's bringing people to Christ, and to teach them to grow people to be more like Christ. And so one of the tools that I've worked with a number of churches on in the past, and I want to give you today, is what I call the deep and wide matrix. And so this is a quick assessment that you can do for your church, and it's just a subjective thing. And it's really simple. It's a 1 to 10 scale. So 10 would be you're off the charts good, and 1 would be you're abysmally bad. Now chances are really good that you're somewhere between a 1 and a 10. 5 is about average, 7 is above average, 3 is slightly below. You get the idea. The deep part is how you're doing at disciple making. How are you doing it teaching them? How are you doing it raising up disciples? And the go part is how is your church doing it getting out, getting away from the building, being intentional in community and beyond to go and to make disciples. So a lot of times when I do this with churches, the scores are always different, but it might be that a church would say, well, we're pretty good, we're about a 5 on making disciples, and maybe we're about a 4. We need to grow. We know we need to grow on getting wider. And so here we would just say, well, they're covering somewhere about like this, and that represents 4 times 5, so simple math, that's 20 out of 100 squares, or we can think of it as 20% of 100, right? So the opportunity then is to grow. So why do we do this assessment? It's not to feel bad about ourselves, it's to say what would happen if we grew, if we improved by maybe a point in the next year. What might we do to make disciples? More teaching, more focused disciple making, whatever that is. And then conversely on the wide, what kinds of things can we do to get out? Do we prayer walk? Do we do community events? What might we do? Maybe we do, here's an idea, maybe you do a block party in your neighborhood. We have that right here at the region. You can contact Allison. So whatever it is, the question is always, can we do a little bit more to go wider? And so like here in this example where we've got a church that believes there are 5 on depth and a 4 on width, if they were to increase a point in both directions, they would grow from being a 4 on wide and a 5 on deep to being a 5 on wide, a 6 on deep, and their coverage would go from 20 to 30. And I'm not a mathematician, but that's a 50% increase 1 year over the next. And where the analogy breaks down is the economy of God is an exponential economy. So even a little bit of improvement in both directions can lead to a lot of improvement in God's economy. This is the deep and wide graph, and I encourage you to use it in your church.